We are right to be wary of change. Change is bad and wrong and different and full of zinch. The Imperium is doing just fine in a state of slow decline, thank you very much. So when there was an announcement of a new Deathwatch kill team, I was rather skeptical. In some form, the Deathwatch were going to continue, and once they're an army, Games Workshop has shown reluctance to ever remove a faction. They don't squat armies anymore. In fact, they brought back the squats 3 years ago as the Leagues of Votann. But a new Deathwatch kill team would invariably mean the removal of the previous box, and that was such a good box. Compact onto 2 sprues were 17 shoulder pads with sculpted chapter symbols, parts for 5 marines including a flowy cloak, if you wanted that, 2 massive hammers, 2 shields, a frag cannon, Infernus Heavy Bolter, a combi weapon, loads of power swords, special bolters and shotguns, and a plethora of parts for 5 models. So when the new kill team looked to have a rather limited choice of parts, each marine getting one of 2 shoulder pads and one of 2 weapons, well, the one of 2 weapons part is real. If you look at this setup, your choices are one from the top or their equivalent from the bottom. You can have an Infernus Heavy Bolter, but you can't have a frag cannon. You can have the big Thunderhammer, but you can't have them all and the shield. The set comes with 3 Tacticus Marines, 1 Phobos Marine, and 1 Gravis Marine. This is a set of sprues that make 5 models. As I was expecting, it being 2 times 5 in the Kill Team Tomb World box. Some weapons seem better than the others. A Plasma Incinerator seems better than a Marksman Bolt Rifle. And the Breacher with the Hellstorm Bolt Rifle maybe doesn't seem as good as the Frag Cannon or the Infernus Heavy Bolter unless they also get the Melter Bombs in 40k. Whether they get that is unknown. Hopefully in 40k this is going to be a squad of 5 to 10, then optimistically you can double up on weapons. So a squad of 10 could have 2 Heavy Thunderhammers, 2 Heavy Plasma Incinerators, 2 Frag Cannons and so on. But the range of extra parts, the heads and the shoulder pads, is greater than first thought. With the latest in floating bit sprue technology, ooh, magic. But like an acceptable kind of magic, we can see there are 16 heads available without helmets, but I count 23 heads, including the helmets, for the 5 models. So even if you had 4 squads of 5, they could all have unique heads, but I hope you like shouty face and bionic eyes. I'm guessing the Games Workshop employee making the article wasn't given the opportunity to count, as they claim only 16 heads, it's more 16 bare heads, plus 7 helmeted heads. The bigger, cooler part is the shoulder pads. I expected that the chapter symbol would be sculpted on, but it is great to see that the shoulder pads are not sculpted to the arm. So not every frag cannon wielder is a flesh tearer. That is a welcome departure from the more recent Games Workshop kits, where we've seen arms and shoulders and half a face being part of the same plastic part, so you may not be able to customize the unit. Thankfully, this is not the case. Once again, we have loads of shoulder pads. 13 sculpted shoulder pads for the Tacticus armor, which is also compatible with Firstborn shoulder pads and most other Tacticus Marine models. 6 Gravis shoulder pads with sculpted chapter symbols that are also compatible with Terminator models, and 5 Phobos shoulder pads that are compatible with Scouts. In addition to that, there are 3 blank Tacticus, 1 blank Phobos, and 1 blank Gravis shoulder pad, so if you wanted them all as black shields, either to represent warriors who have forsaken their old chapter, like Lieutenant Titus did, or to represent the unthawed recruits sent to the Deathwatch when the Primaris Vault was opened by Call, or to draw your own iconography, there are enough blank pads for all of the models in the set. 5 blank pads for 5 models. So let's go through the chapters represented. We have the Mortificators chapter, which is also the chapter that Captain Artemis comes from. We have the Exorcist chapter. They really love smashing demons, but also can be persuaded to come out and fight some aliens. Their whole thing is, all of their recruits are possessed by demons as part of their initiation, and they have to fight off the demons. Maybe that's not going to get mentioned to other chapters. We have the Wolf Spears, which is like the only Primaris Space Wolf successor chapter, as the Space Wolves did not split into chapters after the Horus Heresy. They remained as one big legion, but split over 13 great companies. The Trident symbol is the Emperor's Spears. They're an Ultramarine successor chapter. A lot of chapters are Ultramarine successor chapters. The Size of the Emperor are a chapter that's been reborn, essentially, as they were almost entirely wiped out by the Tyranids in the Second Tyrannic War. So they need to come back and smash some aliens apart, just as revenge. The top right symbol is the Stormlords chapter, one of the successors of the White Scars, and it's this shoulder pad that we see on the Watch Sergeant, rather than what was first expected to be a White Scar shoulder pad. The colour scheme is near identical, and because of the head, it was more likely to be a White Scars Marine, but it instead is one of the successors of the White Scars. The crossed swords are the Sable Swords. The Scorpion symbol is the Red Scorpions, very famous from the Badab War. The snake is not related to the Alpha Legion, that is the Iron Snakes, another Ultramarine successor, but they really like their Greek mythology. The claw pointing down is a Black Talon Marine. The Iron Fist next to it is the Iron Hands chapter. Next to that is the Brazen Claws. And then we have the Lamenters chapter to round out the shoulder pads for the Tacticus Marines. Doing a freehand Lamenters chapter symbol is really difficult. Having it sculpted on makes life so much easier. In the Gravis Marines, we have the Salamanders, the Raven Guard, though it could also be the Hawklords. We have the Imperial Fists, but that could also represent the Crimson Fists or the Subjugators. There's a Dark Angel shoulder pad, a Flesh Terror shoulder pad, and a Nova Marine shoulder pad. The Flesh Terrors are a Blood Angel successor, the Nova Marines are another Ultramarine successor. In the Phobos armor pads, we have the Raptors chapter. They like stealth and elite training and wearing camouflage. We have the Ultramarines, we have the Blood Angels, we have the White Scars here, and the Brazen Minotaurs, which could also represent the White Minotaurs. That's a lot of chapters. That's a lot of ways you can have many different chapters represented across the army. If you want lots of different Space Marine chapters, Deathwatch is a great army for that. You can look up any of these chapters, and you may end up going down a lore rabbit hole and think, oh, that's cool, and now you know why you want that particular model in your army. Yes, you want a Lamenter to always die first. And if there's any chapters you don't particularly want, I'm pretty sure the second-hand market will pay handsomely for these sculpted shoulder pads. The only first founding chapters / legion not represented here are the Space Wolves. And that's good, because the fewer Space Wolves we have, the better. Because of the different armor types within the unit, some of the chapters are limited to certain armor sets. So if you want Blood Angels but you want them to be in Gravis armor or Tacticus armor, you're going to have to get an upgrade sprue separately just to make your Tacticus Marine a Blood Angel. Or you could use the previous Deathwatch Kill Team set. And with so many fancy symbols, you can absolutely make your own chapter. Have the Tridents of Dawn, the Brazen Drakes instead of Salamanders, the Bloody Sword chapter instead of the Flesh Terrors. The Deathwatch are a great place to make up your own chapter. And there are so many chapters already that use a single skull as their symbol, why not add a few more? So this kit with the 3 different sprues is better than expected. That is a much better successor to the 2017 Kill Team box. However, we are a lot of weapons down. Far fewer bolters, power swords, half the shields and thunderhammers, no shotguns, so rules for using your existing Deathwatch veteran models in 40k may be difficult. I am not expecting Legends rules for the older Kill Team. That would be nice, but new kits rarely allow rules representation for previous models with different war gear. Maybe the Shotgun Marine is the Phobos Marine, the Combi Plasma is the Plasma Incinerator. I hope the rules still allow for a combat-focused unit, and I also hope that Imperial Agents and Index Deathwatch get rules to use this new squad in 40k. If you hear anyone saying, oh, the old Kill Team box got Legends, sometimes they don't understand what that word means. It should mean they got rules in the Legends PDF to keep using them in 40k games. It doesn't mean they are no longer valid and are deleted. But some people will claim a unit is Legends without knowing that it should mean there are still rules. Imperial Guard conscripts did not go to Legends. They disappeared. Celestians with guns did not go to Legends. They disappeared. It seems there's always a price for continuing with Games Workshop game systems. But what about actual price? Unless you are wanting to play the Kill Teams in Kill Team, and you know a Necron player who wants the Warriors and the Scarabs and the Geomancer Canoptic Circle, I would wait for the Deathwatch Primaris veterans to be sold separately. It is looking like a very expensive box, this Kill Team Toon World. Something in the range of $250 US, 200 euros, 155 pounds. And I'm following Glass Half Dead on this, and if it's wrong, blame him. But that is more than the Leviathan starter set for 10th edition, and you know how many models you got in that. Lots. And you got all the rules you need. Toon World apparently doesn't come with the core rules for Kill Team. Those are sold separately. Eventually the Deathwatch Veterans will be sold separately for, I'm guessing, £40 or whatever 5 Sternguard cost in your part of the world. Because 3 sprues build 5 models, I'm expecting this to be sold as a kit for 5 models. If you want it soon, we are currently a week before pre-orders. Pre-orders start on Saturday the 30th of August. If you want to wait for the Deathwatch to be sold separately, wait. But whenever you buy anything, check the description of my videos. There are links to affiliates, and if there is one operating in your part of the world, you can get the models cheaper than going through Games Workshop. And sometimes they have copies of boxes and sets otherwise sold out by Games Workshop. So it's always worth a quick click and check. I know some of you play Kill Team, I know a lot more of you play 40k. So let's look at what the rules may be for this Deathwatch Kill Team in the game of 40k. My darlings and viewers, have a great day of 40k.